It was a rainy afternoon in a small village. Tom, a curious 12-year-old, loved exploring the nearby forest. That day, he noticed something strange near an old oak tree. The ground looked as if it had been dug up recently. His heart raced with excitement. Tom grabbed a stick and started digging. After a few minutes, he hit something hard. Carefully, he uncovered a small, rusty metal box. He wiped it clean and tried to open it, but it was locked. "I need a key," he whispered to himself, feeling curious. He remembered an old story his grandfather told about hidden treasure. Tom ran home and showed the box to him. His grandfather's eyes widened. "Where did you find this?" he asked. Tom explained, and his grandfather smiled, remembering the old tale. His grandfather said, "Maybe there's a key in the attic." They climbed up and searched. Soon, Tom found a small, golden key. It fit perfectly, and the box opened. Inside, they found a few gold coins and an old map. Tom was ready for a new adventure. Lily and the Little Bird. It was summer, and Lily was spending her vacation at her grandmother's countryside house. One morning, while walking in the garden, she noticed a small, injured bird near a bush. The bird was trembling, unable to fly. Lily gently picked it up in her hands. She brought the bird inside and showed it to her grandmother. "It looks hurt," Lily said. Her grandmother smiled kindly and gave her a small box. "Let's keep it here until it gets better," she suggested. Lily agreed and carefully placed the bird inside. Over the next few days, Lily took care of the bird, feeding it and watching it grow stronger. She loved sitting by the window, talking to the bird as it chirped softly. Slowly, the bird began to flap its wings again, ready to fly. One sunny morning, Lily opened the box near the garden. The bird hopped out, flapped its wings, and soared into the sky. Lily smiled, feeling both happy and a little sad. It was a simple summer memory, but one she would treasure forever. The Lost Lantern. On a chilly autumn evening, Jack and his best friend Mia decided to explore the old abandoned house at the edge of their village. They had heard many stories about it, but no one had dared to go inside. Armed with flashlights and their courage, they entered the creaky door. Inside, it was dark and cold. Dust covered everything, and the floorboards groaned under their feet. Suddenly, Jack noticed a faint light coming from under a pile of old blankets. Curious, he moved closer and found an ancient lantern glowing softly. "How is it still glowing?" Mia asked, puzzled. Jack didn't know, but the lantern felt warm, almost magical. As they held it, strange symbols appeared on the walls, forming a map. "This must lead somewhere," Jack exclaimed, feeling excited. Following the map, they ended up in the village square, where they found a hidden trapdoor beneath a stone bench. They opened it and discovered an underground room filled with treasures. The lantern had guided them to an ancient secret. It was the adventure of a lifetime. The Mysterious Signal. In a small town, Alex was a young boy fascinated by space. He spent hours in his room, building gadgets and listening to the sounds of space with his homemade radio. One quiet night, as he adjusted the frequency, he heard a strange signal. It wasn't static, it was rhythmic, almost like a code. Confused but excited, Alex recorded the signal and spent the next day trying to decode it. After hours of work, he noticed patterns forming. This might be a message, he thought. He rushed to tell his best friend Lisa, who was also interested in science. Together, they worked tirelessly. The signal seemed to repeat a location coordinates in a nearby forest. That evening, they took a small drone and followed the signal's direction. Deep in the woods, they found something strange, a glowing metallic object half buried in the ground. As they approached, the object emitted a soft hum and projected holographic images of stars. "This isn't from Earth," Lisa whispered. They realized they had discovered something extraordinary, a device possibly left by another civilization. It was the beginning of a secret they would explore for years to come. Whispers of the Wind. Every evening, Emma sat by the lake, watching the sunset paint the sky in warm colors. One day, she noticed a stranger sitting by a tree, sketching in a notebook. Curious but shy, she glanced at him, wondering who he was. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and he smiled. The next day, Emma returned to the same spot, and there he was again. This time, he spoke first. "Beautiful evening, isn't it?" he said gently. Emma nodded and smiled. They started talking, first about the weather, then about art, music, and dreams. His name was Liam, and he was visiting for the summer. As days passed, they grew closer. Emma loved Liam's stories, and he admired her kindness. They laughed together, walked by the lake, and shared moments they would never forget. But summer was ending, and soon Liam would have to leave. The thought of parting made Emma's heart ache. On his last evening, Liam gave Emma a small sketch of the lake with a note, "I'll be back." Though they were apart, their hearts remained connected. They continued writing letters, knowing that some loves, like the whispers of the wind, never truly fade. And Emma knew, one day, he would return. Letters from the past. Clara had always been curious about the attic in her old family house. One rainy afternoon, she finally decided to explore it. Dust covered everything, and the air smelled of forgotten memories. In a corner, she found an old wooden box tied with a red ribbon. She carefully opened it and discovered a pile of yellowed letters. The letters were written by a man named James to someone named Eleanor. As Clara read them, she realized they were love letters from decades ago. James described his feelings, his dreams, and how much he missed Eleanor. The words were filled with a kind of love Clara had only read about in books. Intrigued, Clara showed the letters to her grandmother. Her grandmother's eyes filled with tears. "James was my first love," she whispered. "We were separated by war, and I never heard from him again." Clara felt a pang of sadness. She knew her grandmother had always wondered what had happened to James. Clara decided to search for answers. After some time, she discovered that James had moved to another country and started a new life. She shared the news with her grandmother, who smiled softly. "Even though life took us on different paths, our love was real," she said. Clara realized that love stories don't always have perfect endings, but they leave lasting memories that shape us forever.